Good morning, Morning Musings by Melinda. Let's see, it is March 11th, which ends up in numerology being a 10-1, which is all about confidence and creativity. So if you feel like you have something that you haven't been confident about or something that you haven't been creative with, this is the day to use that vibration to instill more confidence and allow for more creativity. Today, I want to talk to you about food, feed, and frenzy. And my guess is you think that I'm going to talk to you about actual eating, which I'm not. Today, I'm going to talk to you about food for thought and how we have gotten into a frenzy without feeding our spirits and understanding how to use our own thought process and make really good discernments about what's happening in today's social media arena and with everything with the pandemic and so on. Because, you know, we've got this big controversy with Dr. Seuss. And I just love the creativity of some of the poems that I am seeing regarding Dr. Seuss and masks and so on. But the reality is the government had nothing to do with Dr. Seuss's company deciding to remove some books from the 1950s in his early days of writing. It had nothing to do with governmental ideas or cancel culture or anything at all. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with the company's decision, because I think a parent should be able to say to a child, hey, look, these books were written a long time ago, and this is the way they thought in the 1950s and early 60s. But just like you wouldn't have an avocado kitchen front like you did in the 1960s, or purple shag carpet, or a house with no dishwasher, this company has decided that it would make some changes. It is the company. It is not the government. But because we don't have any real thought process right now, because everything that we're seeing on social media that gives us food for thought, we're going along with. So the very people who are talking about being sheeple are actually following things that are not real facts or accurate. It's very interesting to me. So food for thought is so important. It's just like this Meghan Markle thing, okay? Yesterday I saw on social media some real Meghan Markle bashing. No one was inside that situation, and Princess Di herself got on a interview, maybe inappropriately, and talked about jumping down the stairs. Meghan talked about feeling suicidal, and Wallis Simpson stayed with her former king for the rest of their lives. So again, when you have historical patterns, you probably should look at what the patterns are, because patterns show us a real vibration. And it's really interesting how we all get into this place of wanting to bash, and not really giving ourselves food for thought. And then we get into a frenzy and we feed on it, and it gets to be way out of line. Today I saw on Facebook somebody that put the Wizard of Oz with Dorothy and her 3 cohorts and put a crisscross around Scarecrow as a joke, and said that the Scarecrow was being canceled because he didn't have a brain. And then people actually thought that was true. And, you know, that was so funny to me that we sort of have our own brains canceled with some of this stuff, you know, that we need to recognize where the truth lies. And so, you know, I love Dr. Seuss and the Cat in the Hat, and I don't agree with the company's decision, actually, to tell you the truth, but I know it was the company's decision. And so that's food for thought. So what do you need to do to create food for thought so that you can feed your spirit? What are the things you need to do so you don't become part of the feeding frenzy of, you know, energy that isn't appropriate? So maybe these are some of the things that will help with that. First of all, be patient. You know, you have to eat a lot of cereal to find the toy. Maybe you have to really decipher and discern and look at and really evaluate and so on. Strategize. Make sure that you are looking at what you want to do in your life in a strategic way that makes sense and common sense. Be flexible. People with too rigid of boundaries are just as inappropriate as too loose boundaries. Flexibility, it's a gray zone here in the world. We have to understand that gray zone is part of the way we need to move forward. There's balance that we have to look at. If we're out of balance, we're not being in a place where we allow our humanity and our spirituality to work in partnership together. Embrace your greatness within. It's those people with poor self-esteem who have difficulty negotiating some of these things. They want to be worked up into a frenzy so they can be part of a wave of energy. That feels so negative, doesn't it? And, sometimes the positive voices are not being heard. Steer your career. Make sure that your job is merely a tool to a good life, that your life is not about the job, but the job is about your life and creating the life you want. Search for the silver lining. These are the things to actually give you food for thought. Make your day by being kind. We've talked about that all the time. Be a student of life. Pay attention. There are lessons all around you. Make sure you're understanding all of the lessons, right? Okay? Become a role model. Make choices that reflect the person you hope to be. And see your eyes. Use your eyes and see everybody through a love lens, because that is so significant. So, how do we not feed into the frenzy? 13 ways to make yourself project positive energy, okay? Make yourself a priority. Remember what's fact and what's just a thought that is kind of that whisper game. Remember that when we were kids? That whisper game, you started out with a whisper and at the end it was all changed, okay? Be kind to yourself and others. Use positive words like, I'm grateful for, I am willing to, I'd love to learn about that. Smile more, so important. Have you ever noticed somebody, a grumpy Gus in the grocery or something, and you smile nice and big and they look away, and then they kind of look back and you smile again, and then they kind of like give you a smile? Oh boy, I would hate to feel like I was a grumpy Gus all the time. Practice gratitude. Work towards accomplishing your own goals. Don't worry about other people. See other people in flattering light, though. Kill people with kindness is what I say. Give compliments. Live in the moment. Practice good posture. That's something very important. I actually caught Dr. Phil on Monday when I was home and saw that he's stooped over and has a special kind of shoe. I didn't read anything about that, and I'm not trying to start anything about Dr. Phil, but I bet you there's something going on, because normally he has such great posture, so maybe he hurt his back. Be more generous. Practice good faith. These are things that, give you the energy of the proper kind of feeding yourself and feeding your soul, okay? Make a 10-minute daily date with yourself for meditation. Nurture yourself with a bath, or heal your body, mind, and spirit by serving somebody. Read something positive. Listen to something positive. Do some of the things that make it feel like you can make a connection to God and not feel like you have to make a connection to a lot of baloney. So just food for thought to feed your soul, to unravel some of the frenzy of energy that's going on right now. And I hope that you understand that I'm not criticizing anybody. That's not what I'm doing at all. Because actually, I loved some of the poetry that I saw come out. But it has nothing to do with masks. Have a great day.